everyone. Welcome back to your weekly installment of some mobility for Pilates. And before we get started, as ever, I'd just like to thank Trainify.tv for sponsoring this workout. Head over to Trainify and check out their YouTube channel where you get 6 days a week worth of content where you can watch videos with regards to Pilates, yoga, high intensity interval training, all that good stuff. And you can sign up and you can get £20 worth of free credits to get yourself started, and you can search for trainers to match maybe up with what you want to be working on as well. Okay, so for today's session, we're going to focus on a little bit more into kind of some weight bearing and mobility through the shoulders. But before we do that, we're going to start off releasing into your feet. So just kind of in a side-on position first. You're just going to have your toes kind of tucked under, just like that. And then I'm going to turn myself back towards the screen. So with the toes tucked under and pressing down onto them, you're going to bring yourself as low to sitting onto your heels as you can get, or if that feels, whatever feels most comfortable for yourself. Okay, so already you should be starting to feel a stretch along the fronts of the toes and a little bit around through the ankles and up through the back of the legs as well. So we're going to keep with that, and then you're just going to place one hand underneath your kind of sit bone, and then you're going to take the other hand up onto your head. So similar to the kind of stretching of the neck that we did a few sessions back, but we're just combining that with some foot stretch as well. So you're just going to lower your head, looking toward the same side shoulder, and then lifting your head up as you look toward kind of the other corner. And just do that a couple of times. Good, come back to the center. We'll go other side, but very much come out of the stretch for the toes if you need. Mine are definitely screaming already. Other hand goes underneath the sit bone, and then the other hand goes onto your head. And then you're gonna lower your head to look down toward that shoulder, and then reaching up toward the opposite corner as you look. So kind of working through that diagonal to bring in a nice bit of kind of neck and head release here. And we'll do a couple more. And relax. Good, come out of that. Definitely tap out through the toes as well. Okay, so from that, we're going to bring it into some versions of cat-cow stretch. So get yourself down onto your hands and knees, and we've done the cat-cow stretch kind of way back when, so please feel free to dip back to that one if you haven't seen the video. So you want to have your hands kind of shoulder width distance and your knees at about hip width distance. So we'll start off moving kind of from the tailbone area. So your tailbone starts to tuck between the legs. Your lower back starts to arc toward the ceiling, your mid back starts to arc, then as your upper back does, your head drops between your arms. And then just take it going the other way. Your tailbone points up toward the ceiling as your sit bones widen, and therefore your lower, your mid, your upper back starts to drop, and you look in front. Good, so we'll go one more. Find that tuck of the tailbone between the legs. Your lower back starts to arc, then your mid back, then your upper back, and your head drops between your arms. Now what you're going to do is just stay in that arc and keep the weight bearing through your hands. So kind of pushing the floor away. And then we're going to introduce a little bit of a wiggle through your hips. So try not to change the position of your arms
but your hips turn over to the left, and then just bring your hips going over to the right. And just notice that the range that you get isn't going to be massive. So we're just trying to mate into where we're probably quite limited and stiff around the hips. So again, it's good to do. We'll do one more left, one more right. Good. So come back through the middle. Find that we're still with that tuck and really curving up into the cat position as much as possible. And then you're going to push through your hands as you sit down towards your heels as much as you can. And then pull your hands forward as you bring your body slightly in front of the wrists. Stay in that cat position as we push and sit back. Get more of a stretch through the spine. Maintain the curve as we pull forward. Good. Drop back into position again. Come forward. We'll do a couple more. And just breathing as and when you need on this one. But make sure you're not holding your breath at any point. Now this time as you come back through the center, just want you to kind of drop down, not so much into like a cow position, but just allowing your spine to maintain its natural curves as much as possible. And then you're going to sit back and notice that your sit bones spread, your tailbone will tuck slightly but not as much, and then pull forward. So we'll go for about 4 more, just like that. Okay, good. And we want to feel like we're releasing into the hips, putting a little bit of weight through the arms, but bringing some mobility through the shoulders and the upper back as well. 2 more. And last one here. And then just come forward from this position. Good. So just bring yourself back up onto your knees again. And then we're just going to take that into a little bit of a hip opening stretch. Again, something similar that we've done before, but we're just going to add in a side bend to it. So I'm going to have myself just slightly angled so you can see the hip that we're working into. Stepping my right foot forward, and your right knee is give or take just above the right ankle, and your left hip is directly above your left knee. Now from this position, maybe whatever's going on in your back, left to your own devices, it might just drop down like this and we're not really going to get much of a stretch. So bring one hand onto the pelvis along the front, one hand along the back, and then just really find that tucking under. The hip bones along the front lift up, and that just will bring in a lot more stretch through here. So we're going to ease into that. So kind of push forward to increase that stretch, and then come back, and you're just continuing to kind of look off into the distance as we do that movement. So one more here as we go forward. Keep the tailbone tucked, keep the hip bones lifted. And then just from here, you're going to raise your left arm up. So the same side as the leg that we're stretching, the right hand can go behind the thigh, behind the hip, or just holding something in front if that feels better. And just take a deep breath in. And as we breathe out, introducing a side bend through the stretch. Come back to the center. And we'll do 4 more. Good, last 2. 1 more here. and then come back through the center. Fantastic. Good. So let's get you turned around, or I'll turn myself around so you can still see where we're stretching from. So this time, just going to step my left foot forward. Give or take, the knee is above your left ankle. The right hip is directly above the right knee. And again, hands onto the hips, and just with a hand along the back, feel like we're just gently guiding the tailbone to tuck, the hip bones along the front lift. And then just from here, just kind of move into that stretch and just come out of it slightly. So as we're doing it, we're not really disrupting what's going on here. So trying to keep it pretty still, pretty stable. And just as an observation, so that you know it's completely normal, I'm very much feeling that I'm getting a much deeper stretch along this leg in comparison to the other. For whatever reason, not completely sure, but we're never going to be perfectly aligned. So come forward this time, hold, left hand behind the hip, your right arm reaches up. So again, take a deep breath in, keep looking into the distance, exhale, reach over, inhale back through the center. Two more. Last one. And just relax from there, everyone. All right, good. So what we've done a little bit as well is just kind of really release through the front of the shoulders and a little bit into some lateral side bending as well, and opened up through the front of the hips. So that'll help us now as we go down into like a prone position, as we're going to move through a prone press. So you're going to come down onto your chest and just bring your forehead down onto your mat. So legs lengthened away. Hopefully you've got a little bit more space than me. And then just with your forehead resting onto the mat, bring your fingers onto your hip bones again. So your fingers gently guide the hip bones up, your tailbone tucks so that you feel an increase of connection here. Now the front of your pelvis, press it into the mat, into the floor. And then you're going to place your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Now keep sending the front of your pelvis into the mat. And with your hands underneath the shoulders, palms pressing down, fingers and thumbs spread apart. And just take a deep breath into your belly as it presses into the floor. Exhale, sigh out your mouth. Now this time as you breathe into your belly, push the floor away, and then you're just going to lift up through the spine. And exhale as you lower yourself down. I'll actually just shuffle myself down the mat slightly. Doesn't matter if your legs are raised on this one, you can maybe just kind of rest them down, but that focus on pressing the front of your pelvis into the floor. Now, back of the neck stays lengthened. Hold this position. Breathe in. Exhale, draw down. Inhale. Push the floor away, lifting your chest off. Back of the neck stays lengthened. Exhale, lower yourself down. Push the floor away. And then lower yourself down on an exhale. Now with that prone press position, or this kind of modified prone press, you're definitely going to feel your back muscles, those extensors, working, because we're extending the spine as we push the floor away. Now if you feel you can, let's see if we can push and lift ourselves up with the arms coming a little straighter. So working toward like a swan one. Push the floor away. lower yourself down. And we'll go again just for a couple more. Last one. And relax, lower yourself down. Good, so we'll just come into a little bit of a shell stretch just to release off from that. So big toes touch, and then your knees just open out to the sides. And then sitting onto your heels, walk your arms forward, and your head just drops down. So hands on the mat, pushing the floor away, and then get a little bit of release into the upper back area. And just relax from there. Good, so now I'm going to come up into like a 4-point kneeling position and do a little bit of a leg sweep and then some rotation through the arm as well. So we'll continue with that theme of weight bearing from here. So your hands are directly underneath the shoulders, about shoulder width distance apart. And then on this one, just because of the position that I'm in, I'm going to straighten my left leg out behind. So I'll just shuffle up the mat slightly. So the left leg goes out, and all you're going to do is just trace that left foot going over to the right side, and then bring it back so that the leg is directly behind the hip. So the leg sweeps over, so we get a little bit of a stretch into the hip, and then bring the leg back through the center. Now this time as the leg goes over, hold it. It'll probably be slightly past the outside of the right thigh, but not too much. Now hold this position, push down through the right hand, and then you're going to lift your left arm up. So we're creating this opening across the chest, and still with that opening across the left hip as well. Now from here, we're going to bring it into a slight kind of back bend. Breathe in, and as we breathe out, look up toward that hand as you reach the arm back. Breathe in, bring it back through the center. We'll go 4 more. Last one. And then lower the hand down, and then the leg comes back, and then bend the knee, bring it back in. Good, a little bit of release, through the shoulders, through the wrists, and then just going to turn around the other way. So hands go back underneath the shoulders again, and a shuffle forward so you've got room to straighten, your right leg out behind you. So as the leg goes out, again, just sweep that right leg past the left thigh, and then bring it back so it's directly underneath the hip. And just do that again a couple more times. Alright, so the leg reaches over, pause, push down through the left hand, reach your right arm up. Good. Pushing the floor away, that opening across the chest. Breathe in, exhale, the arm reaches back, bring the arm forward. 3 more. And 1 more here. And then bring the hand back down, slide the knee back in. Fantastic. So now I'm just going to take that shoulder opening with a little bit of hip opening as well. So we're going to come into like a squat position, but really deep down. So with your feet, just have them that little bit wider. So like a yogi squat almost. And then your elbows are just pressing out into the thighs. So see if you can get the whole of your feet pressing. If you need to go a little bit wider, do so. And then just with the hands on the floor, all you're going to do is release through the legs as we curve. Head drops down, tailbone tucks. And then come down into the squat again. Hands to your chest, lift up into a little bit of extension. Then fingers to the floor. And then again we curve down. So we'll do a couple more. Extend up, keeping the feet pressing. And it'll get the heart rate up a little bit. So if you're feeling that, know that that's completely understandable. Now from this position, let's bring your elbows a little bit higher up the knees and just try and lift the chest and allow the collarbones to widen. Stay through this position. Few deep breaths. And relax. Lower the hands down and then bring the knees down as well, just from this position. Good. So come up into a high kneeling position. Then we're just going to take it into a little bit of side bend work just to finish up. So your left leg goes out to the side. The right knee stays underneath the hip. Put the weight to the outside of that left foot and your arms reach wide. So from here, bring your right hand down onto the mat. The whole of the palm presses down. The left arm reaches up. So similar to that kind of chest opening we were doing, but putting a little bit more weight to the outside of that left foot. And then reach the left arm overhead. Stay here just for a few deep breaths. Reach the arm up, push the floor away, and then bring the left knee back in. So both knees back underneath the hip, and then the right leg goes out to the side. So weight to the outside of that right foot, arms wide, and then lower your left hand down onto the mat, but keeping the weight to the outside of that foot. Good. And then can you reach that that right arm overhead to increase the stretch a little bit more. Reach the arm above the shoulder, push the floor away, and then come all the way back up through the middle. Okay, everyone, so as I say, just a little bit more challenging in a subtle way this week with more weight bearing through the hands together and individually as well. So on this one, if you feel that you're a little bit warmer through your body and you've got your heart rate up and you're feeling like you're a little bit more puffed out, that's completely normal, but still with that focus on mobility, but just putting a little bit more loading through the shoulders and through the hips as well. So I hope you enjoyed the session. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff on the trainify.tv channel, on the website and on the YouTube page as well. So I'll see you next week, everyone. Take care. Bye.